It's SpaceX Day. Congratulations to all those that are involved. And that leads us into Elon Musk. And anything Elon Musk is always interesting to talk about, love him or hate him, whichever side you take. There is something interesting to talk about in business and technology with Elon and everything that he's been involved in and how his life continues to unfold. So, we're going to have a little fun this Friday. And we're just going to say, uh, happy SpaceX Day today on the Daily Dance.
Welcome to the Daily Dance with your host, Brad Richardson.
All right, happy Friday, everyone. Hope you're having a good day, that you had a good week, that it's wrapping up well for you. It is Friday, June 12th. Friday, June 12th. It is SpaceX Day. It is the day of the IPO for SpaceX, and so much news going around, so many opinions, even some things that I've seen on LinkedIn that I'll address in a little bit. I tried to stay away. Things with any Elon Musk owned company these days seem to get political. And if you followed me at all, you know I try to avoid that side of things. But there are some perspectives and arguments that come up in that sphere that I feel like it is worthwhile to address because it does affect the way that we do business, the way that we approach things. And it's so easy to hop on board some thought trains that get going. But I would like us to peel back some of the layers on those things and not just take them at face value. Can we do that? Let's do that. Let's do that together, okay? This is the Daily Dance. The intention is to have some daily encouragement in your life and business, as well as to give you tools to equip you to approach things intelligently in your life, to keep yourself encouraged and to move things forward in your life, and to help you to pivot when you need to, and to navigate the waters of business and life, because things get tricky and things aren't always as they seem. So we like to dig down, find the truth, tool up to be able to approach things in a better way. So one thing we do, the daily dance. It is the time to dance. You can do a little chair dance, get up and actually do a dance is even better. But the rule really is that before you leave the house or before you start your work day, that you do a little dance every day to just get a checkup from the neck up, just to help get in a better headspace and to encourage yourself for the day. Yes, it's a little silly. That's part of the point. Helps to not take yourself too seriously and to loosen up and then get into the day and approach your challenges. So, having said that, let's go ahead and do our daily dance. All right. So you feel energized? You feel a little bit better? Maybe just a touch. Good. So let's dive in. Talking about Elon Musk here and SpaceX's IPO today. So happy SpaceX Day. It's kind of a crazy thing. It's something to take note of. Initial public offering that is so huge that it's making regular news, and it's bringing out the lovers and the haters and everything in between. And I don't know where you all stand on that, but it's interesting because SpaceX touches on their space business, Starlink, X.ai, which is the artificial intelligence arm of everything that they merged recently with, and it touches on all of those things. And uh, it's just interesting the different perspectives that it brings out when you see something like this, and especially the accumulation of wealth on paper anyway for Elon Musk becoming the first trillionaire in world history. Although those things I always take with a grain of salt, because since we live in an inflationary economy, what's the truth? The truth is that the bottom line amount, not adjusted for inflation, is we're going to continue to break records, right? It's similar to, I always used to laugh at different computer makers when they would come out with the new model, and this is our fastest model yet. And I'm like, well, it better be. It better be, because as things go along, if you're not progressing, then what's really going on? But of course, marketing being marketing, you sell it like it's something that's a big deal. This is still a big deal. It's a huge initial public offering, but of course, dollar for dollar, I don't know. I haven't even looked at that yet, but it probably isn't quite as big as everyone thinks. But we'll look at that. We'll look at that. Um, Most fascinating thing to me with SpaceX as a business model, and by the way, I am a fan. I am a fan. I watch the launches, all that stuff. I have my criticisms of the company as well, and some of the opinions around it. But I am a fan. And but what fascinates me is that for so much of what's going on right now with SpaceX and AI and all the investment going on in those areas, is that so much of it for their business models focus on wants, not needs. And I know some would argue with that. I know Elon himself, he has this big push to make life multiplanetary, as though it's a need. And I don't want to go too far in that down that rabbit trail, but I don't see it as a need. It's not a need. We live on an amazing planet. Right now, a huge, amazing planet with a lot of abundance, and I think our focus is quite often the solutions to our problems are right in front of us. Uh, but there are wants, there are things about SpaceX. It is cool. I like space exploration. For no other reason, I'm a sci-fi fan for whatever reason. I am in technology, and I find that interesting. It is amazing. I watched the last SpaceX launch where they launched Starlink satellites out of Starship, and wonderful engineering and amazing process that they've gone through to get to the point that they're at. I love the way that they've been so aggressive in their launch schedule to get more information, more data, to be able to improve and iterate. And it's a great example, a great model of doing that. And the way that they've slashed the cost to launch things into space, it is just amazing. And it's wonderful and it's cool. And I love everything about it. And I love Elon's drive. But it's fascinating because when I look at new endeavors, I'm always asking, what is this solving? What problem is this solving? When I say a problem, I mean, I'm thinking of needs, not wants. And that's a fault on my part, because wants are legitimate too. And a lot of our businesses and things that are paying our bills are based on people's wants, not needs, right? Some of the things that have most marked recent, well, I guess innovations, but your Door Dashes and things like that are based on convenience and wants, and so that's a legitimate business model. Uh, at the same time, the wants can come and go, I think, and it's not as important as we would make it out to be. And especially if it's the product we're selling, it may not be as important to everybody as we would want it to be. And please, I've been a musician making money as a musician, and you can easily say music is a want, not a need. You can't eat it, you can't live in it. Yet does it bring value? Does it add value to life? Yes, it does. So just because I'm saying wants and not needs, I'm not saying that there isn't something there, that people are going to legitimately want and pay for. But um, with AI, it's not necessarily fixing any known or specific problems. It's fixing some, but there's this much, and then there's this much hype on top of it, of where, it can do this, out of the other thing. Where I'm looking at it and, well, that's neat, that's fun, but um, but that's all it is, to a large extent. And sometimes we don't see that or get that. We get caught up in the hype. It seems more important than it really is, and we don't, until we look back. We don't see. We don't see that it was just a want and not a need. But so that's what's fascinating to me about all this, is that so much of it is it's beyond what we basically need. A lot of the, but we've done that for a long time, right? With the International Space Station, previous moon landings, all these things. These are businesses and needs that are beyond, that are beyond just taking care of basics. I know that's always a lot of the criticisms of these types of businesses. Um, at the same time, don't undersell the wants. If you have things that people want enough, that can be resilient in its own way. I remember hearing a story about someone during the Great Depression buying. I can't remember now what it was, but like some little kiddie ride or carousel or something that was just a bit of entertainment, and that was how he survived, was by buying that and selling that. And it seems odd, right? In the midst of the Great Depression, you would think, who would be paying for that? But the rationale was that when everybody's hurting and things are down, people will give their last 5 cents to have a little fun, right? To have a little distraction. Um, so there are different drivers there. And so I don't have any real answers on this. It's just an observation to me that it's fascinating that we have so much of the economy right now being driven by things like this that aren't necessarily needs, at least not immediate needs. They are things that have some value, but their value lies elsewhere. And that seems to be what we're all getting hyped about right now, and what's driving this. But I think it's good to recognize that too. I don't mind supporting things on that basis. I just want people to try to convince me that it's something it's not. Right? Don't try to get me so hyped up about your company as though, man, if we don't do this, the world's going to end tomorrow. Everybody wants to treat what they're doing as though it's brain surgery, and a lot of times it just isn't. You can get excited about your product in other ways. I just don't think we need to sell it in that way. So that kind of went a different direction than I expected, but for what it's worth. The other thing with all this, the money game, it's made me think about the money involved, and how it's big money and big money players and investors that are involved, and how those guys get to make even more money, even bigger money, when all this money shifts around. And that's a hard club to break into. You can do it, but it is a hard club to break into. And I do think that is some of the legitimate frustration that people experience. I've had to reconcile this too, though, because if I'm honest, and I bring it up because what I don't like is seeing some of the class warfare and the animosity that gets generated when stories like this come up, of the big bad wealthy people. Saw just before we went on air some clip of Jimmy Kimmel giving a monologue and poking at the SpaceX IPO, and painting a negative light, and people in the crowd booing and things like that. Okay, that's so irresponsible from someone who's running a show that I don't even think is profitable at this point, to be trying to stoke feelings of bitterness and jealousy and class warfare uh, against someone who is producing something. With Elon Musk, you have a man who makes things, produces a product, and I do believe that SpaceX is slated to turn a profit this year. Which with younger companies going through IPOs, there are lots of companies that aren't producing a profit yet that have their initial public offering. But people are betting on the projected growth of that company, so that's normal. And yet you have these other people from the sidelines wanting to throw stones, and it's like, you know what? If you really dislike all that so much, show us how to do it better. What are you making? What are you producing? What are you doing that's creating jobs and adding value and creating wealth? And you know what? I don't care if someone becomes a trillionaire if they're doing it in a way that provides jobs and builds businesses. And for the most part, that's how you make that kind of money. It's been pointed out over and over again. I don't know why it has to keep being pointed out that you don't have all this money sitting in a bank and you do a Scrooge McDuck dive down the mound of money and go playing it. Your money is working for you, and that's why I like having resources like that in the hands of people who make things and produce things and build businesses, because that means jobs for the rest of us. That means careers and a lot of wealth created for the people involved. There are a lot of people who worked for SpaceX that are going to make a lot of money off of this from their time working there. And good for them. Can we say that? Good for them. If we cannot have a mindset where we cheer those who succeed legitimately, yes, the people who cheat and game the system and all that sort of stuff. No, I'm not cheering them. But if there are people that are building businesses who then succeed, we need to be able to applaud that, because if you can't applaud that, you're going to hinder your own success. You're going to hinder your own success. You know why? Because if you continue, if you start to be successful, if you start to accumulate wealth, and yet you've programmed yourself to be resentful and distrustful and all those things of people who are wealthy, then you're going to start to hate yourself. You will start to self-sabotage. I've seen it over and over, and I've seen it myself. If you don't want to attain to that kind of wealth, that's your prerogative. You're content where you are. That's a beautiful thing. Not everyone needs to be wealthy or accumulate a lot, but don't be bitter towards those who do, because I guarantee you that money, it isn't just sticking with them. They spend it, they invest it, it goes back into the economy. That's all that is choosing what route, through which route things go back into the economy. So don't poison your own success by having wrong attitudes toward those who are successful. You can't do that. You will hurt yourself in that. But understand, that wasn't even my main point in all this, but the money game, that there are money games being played. These people with a lot of the money, I was about to say all the money. I'm not going there. That's not the case. But who have a lot of the money, they get to play the bigger games, right? And it's not always a pretty game, by the way. I don't necessarily recommend being part of it, unless you really have your head on straight. But they move around businesses and personnel and all of this just like game pieces on a playing board, right? And they talk in different terms and terminology from a different viewpoint than most. And you need to understand that these are the people that then, if you're trying to build a career or you're living your life, that these are the people you do need to help. If you can be valuable to them, if you can help them, then you will do well as well. And so much more to be said of that. Yes, because there's good people like that. There's bad people. There's some people you want to align with and some you don't. That's a different discussion. But just in general, on the people with all the money who are in the investment class and ownership class, if you can serve them well and create value for their businesses and their endeavors and what they're attempting to do In the end, you will do well. You will run into people who take advantage of you. That's their problem, not yours. You can always move on then to the next business and benefit them instead. But have it in your mind to just understand the game. Again, understand who you work for, what's important to them, help them succeed, help your boss look good, uh, all the way through. Be there to help, and and don't get resentful of others who have more than you. I mean, that's, jealousy in that way. That's not a virtue. It's not a virtue, and it doesn't help you. You sabotage yourself with that. That's maybe my main thought with that. That I don't think a lot of people think through. You do sabotage yourself and your own success if you look at successful people as evil or bad, or always in negative light. Because how are you going to succeed and get your life to succeed if you don't celebrate success? Right? You're going to sabotage yourself. Don't do that. Don't do that. You can be content with less. You don't have to try to get rich, but don't condemn those who do succeed and who do go down that path. We all benefit when people succeed and jobs and wealth are created. So, but know that that's the game. That's the game we're in, and you can like it, you can hate it. That's the reality we live in, guys. That's the reality. So don't fight that reality. What we try to do here on Daily Dance is to make things better within that reality, and we can win. You can build better cultures. You can build good careers. All of those good and noble things. We can do business better. We can do it well, but we're still doing it in service of people who are there to make money. We're just trying to inject into that these ethics and morals and standards that allow us to do it well and in a way that doesn't just use people, right? We don't want to just use people. We use things. We care for people, and we can do that within this context. But you won't do that well even if we keep fighting the reality of the fact that we're in this money game. Right? We're in this money game. Understand it. Help the people who want to grow their businesses and all that. Help them do it, and we just practice doing it a better way. Encourage one another to do it a better way. Okay, enough said about that. And then value, AI, and everything. This is my grab bag, and I touched on that already. As far as just creating value, we all need to learn to create value. Look for companies that are creating value, real value. What's valuable about what this company does, what this product does. Those are good assessments to do. AI is still, I think, overblown because there are a lot of companies with a lot of money invested who want to see it work, because that's their investment now. They want to see it succeed. AI is obviously getting infused in a lot of things in its current form. I don't understand the press. I'll be honest. I do not understand the press for, was it ASI? The artificial superintelligence, which comes after AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which we haven't really hit yet even. Okay. In this press for more and more compute and more abilities in AI, I do keep asking the question, what problem are we trying to solve with this? I get a few answers. I do understand maybe there's things in medicine, there's things in finance, in any area where you have to deal with a large amount of data that you need it to be intelligently parsed and something done with it. Agents being able to assign just menial tasks to. I understand that. I still don't understand why we need a super intelligence. All these things we do seem to be pressing toward iRobot, or with all the Starlink stuff. I do constantly think of Skynet, and it is possible that we're in the midst of constructing our own chains, no matter what the good motives are. It is still possible that all that goes sideways. We've seen it in history before, but in the short term, I can see and I understand some of the benefits of AI. I just think it's going to be very, very similar to what we saw with the .com boom and the companies that came out of that, which a lot of what we're doing now is birthed out of that um, online. But a vast majority of those companies are no longer business or are diminished. And I think it'll be the same with AI. We're going to see a few winners, a lot of losers, and the market will adjust and on we go. And we'll have some new tools that help us do some more things. But that's probably the history tells us that's really the pattern that's there, and that's the result that we're going to see. And so, just all that to keep in mind. Again, maybe more help in understanding the game that we're in. Go ahead and implement your AI solutions, but don't bet the farm on it necessarily. You see something like Nvidia and how their stock skyrocketed, and you have your few winners, and we all get bummed that we missed out. Maybe wouldn't it be nice to have invested early and be sitting on a pile of cash now? Yeah, sure, but you have to look for the next wave, right? You can't be sitting there not that horse has already left the barn. uh, you don't want to lose a lot of money or sleep or effort in chasing that down. The guys who sell the shovels always make the most in gold rush, right? Rather than the guys looking for the gold. The guys who sell the tools, and I see companies like Nvidia being the ones that are doing that right now. So good on them for being in the right place in the right time, coming up with the product to take advantage of that. But understand that that's what's happening, and I do think there's going to be a correction. We're going to see a lot of the data centers aren't going to be needed or used, probably even since I'm on the subject, because as hardware increases in its efficiency and as the software increases in its efficiency, that we're probably not going to need as much computing power as we thought. And especially if then demand does go down, as myself and a lot of other people are anticipating, we're going to have this, we're going to come down from this wave and things will settle and we'll see what kind of a market is really there. So that's what I think is going on with all of that. And Starship, or sorry, SpaceX is part of that, right? Because they have X.ai, and that's also tied to Tesla and automated cars and all. They've got an application, and the robots they want to build, they've got an application for their AI. That makes sense. Those types of plays make sense. They've got a way to practically apply their tech that they're developing and the AI that they're developing. That makes a lot more sense to me than these pure AI plays. But you know what? We'll see. We'll find out, won't we? It's like playing sports. That's why you play the game, is to find out who the better team is. I may regret a lot of my predictions in the end, or may look back and go, oh yeah, I nailed that. At the end of the day, I don't know that it really matters either way that much, except that I hope I can help people not to panic, not to get too worked up as different changes go through the industry, that everyone will learn to take a breath and let some things play out, learn what you can. And then as the next wave comes and the next thing comes, you might be in a better position to take advantage of the next trends because now you've learned and you have a little more perspective. So happy SpaceX Day to everybody. If anybody invested in the IPO, good for you. I hope everything goes well for you. Just remember, so much of what's going on in the world with all these investments, it is many times about wants, not needs. There's a money game being played that a lot of us aren't privy to, that we don't see. Just understand we're part of that we're in it, and find ways to use that knowledge to further your career. And just focus on value. And focus on, what value you can bring, and learn to see value in products you assess and companies you assess, and and everything. That's a good thing to do. So, um, okay, homework. Odd homework for a subject like this. It's a little different show today, but where you fit in the game. Figure where you fit in the game. Then this money game that's being played, everything that's going on. Where do you fit in? Where do you fit in? What talents do you bring? What value can you add? And learn to see yourself in that context, so that when you're within a company, you can bring that value to the powers that be, to your manager, to the exec you report to your board, um, to shareholders, to whoever. It's like, where do you fit in the game? And I'll just add to that. And so, well, assess where you can fit in the game, and then how you can do that better. And when I say better, I mean ethically, morally, in a way that adds not just to the bottom line, but to the culture and relationships of where you are. But to do that, you got to find where you fit in the game, bring value, so then you can bring those other changes in your environment and to your coworkers and to your direct reports and everyone. Okay, so do that today. After you're done watching, find where do you fit in the game? How do you help those that are owners, investors, and executive executive teams and boards? How do you help? How can you help them get where they need to go? And do you know where they need to go? Have you figured that out yet? So, something to think about. Thanks again for watching. Remember, you can find us on Rumble, on YouTube, on X, on LinkedIn. Please look us up on Locals. If you don't have an account on Locals, I encourage you to get one. Please become a part of our community. Trying to build a community there, so eventually we will be able to have back and forth and encourage one another and training tips and all that fun stuff. I hope you have some fun this weekend. I hope you find ways to relax, spend time with your family. Yes, get outside, get in nature, start a hobby, build something with your hands, rest, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy a sport, whatever you do. But live life. Life is short, make the most of it. And whatever you do, just remember, please, to keep on dancing. Till next time.